Shohei Ohtani, Gunnar Henderson, and Aaron Judge. Those are the only 3 players that are better than Jarren Duran. Well, that's according to Baseball Reference WAR in 2024. Duran is ahead of guys like Bobby Witt Jr., Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, Kyle Tucker, and Adley Rutschman. Nobody thinks of Jarren Duran as this superstar player though. If you were to look at some of the basic numbers that he's put up this year, they're definitely good, but nowhere near elite. Somehow though, WAR, a stat that's supposed to represent how valuable a player is, says that Duran is the 4th most valuable player in all of Major League Baseball in 2024. You would think the 4th most valuable player in the entire league would make the All-Star team, right? Well, he didn't even finish in the top 9 in AL outfield voting. Most fans aren't aware of the season that Duran is having. When you compare him to other players using traditional hitting metrics, he doesn't really look like an elite player. Is WAR just a made-up number that shouldn't be trusted then? Are we all being lied to? Well, there's much more to the game than just hitting, and it's that reason why Jarren Duran may just be the most underrated player in baseball. Are you looking to up your game in sports betting? Meet OddsJam, your ultimate ally in the world of data-driven wagering. With over 260 sports books under its belt, OddsJam is the go-to platform for savvy bettors. Here's how it works. OddsJam's arbitrage tool scans the market in real time, spotting differences in betting lines across various sports books. This means you can lock in risk-free profits by betting on both sides of the market. But that's not all. OddsJam also provides a positive EV calculator to optimize your bets and a handy bet tracker to monitor your profits. By using OddsJam, you're not just betting smarter, you're betting responsibly for long-term profitability. And here's the kicker. They offer a 7-day free trial. Ready to give it a shot? Use my code WILL for a 35% discount on your first month. Secure your bets with confidence. Make informed decisions with OddsJam. Even though Baseball Reference has Duran as the 4th most valuable player this season, he didn't do well in the All-Star fan vote. He didn't even make the top 9 in AL outfield in the All-Star voting. Obviously, people are not aware of how good Duran has been this season. When you think of the stars in baseball today, your mind probably goes to Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, maybe Juan Soto, or Ronald Acuna. One thing that all of these players have in common is that they are pretty good at hitting a baseball. After all, that's pretty much their job, right? Hitting baseballs. If we compare a few of the top vote getters in the AL outfield, you can see that Duran doesn't really hold up with these guys at all. The stats that most people will look towards first are the ones near the bottom, the OPS and OPS+. OPS+ generally does a good job at evaluating how well a player has done compared to the average. Duran, though, has the lowest on-base percentage and slugging percentage out of all of these players. This means obviously he will have the lowest OPS and OPS+. He has clearly been the worst hitter out of these 5 players this year. If we do a little more analysis here, we can find some more interesting conclusions though. Let's focus on the first 2 players here, Juan Soto and Jarren Duran. When comparing these 2 players, Soto is clearly the better one according to most of these stats, yet Duran still edges him out in WAR, meaning that statistically he has been more valuable. You see, these stats came straight from Baseball Reference's player comparison tool. This tool is used a lot amongst fans as it's a quick and easy way to compare multiple players. It isn't the best tool though. Case in point, it makes Jarren Duran look like the worst player on here. If we take a closer look though, these stats are mostly redundant. OPS+ is just OPS, adjusted for ballpark factors and normalized to where 100 is league average. OPS is just on-base percentage plus slugging percentage. These bottom 4 stats are all stats that are very similar and they're all built off each other. Most of the time, the guy that leads in OPS+ can be considered to be the better hitter. In some cases, it could be helpful to break it down like this. For the most part though, OPS combines all of these stats into one number. Another downfall of this is the fact that counting stats like hits, home runs, and RBIs are included here when those are not a great measurement of anything, considering that sample size has a larger impact on those, and having the most hits or home runs is not always indicative of a good hitter. Also, RBIs for obvious reasons shouldn't be on here. There is so much noise and other variables that go into RBIs, it's nowhere near a good indicator of a player's ability to produce runs. The last downfall I have with this graphic is the fact that nearly all of these stats are hitting stats. Besides games and stolen bases, these stats all have to do with the player's performance at the plate. Where are the defensive stats? Where are the base running stats? Because it's those stats where Jarren Duran shines. Here, you know what? Let me make my own comparison, one that will really show you the difference between these players. Let's use some stats that maybe you don't see on an everyday basis, but do a much better job at evaluating how well a player has performed this season. Okay, this may seem like a lot of random numbers and letters, but there's a lot of value hidden in this chart here. At the top, we still have the core hitting stats, the ones that we talked about before, mainly looking at OPS+ to evaluate how good a hitter has been this year. Duran definitely doesn't dominate in that category compared to these guys, but comparing him to the average hitter, he's still very good. A 131 OPS plus means that he is 31% better than the league average hitter when it comes to OPS, which is pretty good. One thing that you may notice is the fact that his 2 WAR numbers are drastically different. His B WAR is 4.6, which is the 4th highest in the league, and his F WAR is just 3.4, which is outside of the top 10. They are both WAR the same stats, so what's the difference? B WAR comes from Baseball Reference and F WAR comes from Fangraphs. Both of them are trying to measure the same thing, the overall value that a player provides to a team. How can 2 different publications be this far apart on the same player though? Shouldn't this just completely discredit this stat if there are 2 different versions of it that don't even agree? Is Jarren Duran actually the 4th most valuable player in the league this year, or is Baseball Reference just wrong? That's when we have to go a little bit deeper to truly appreciate and quantify Duran's impact on the game. Right here in the middle section are 4 different stats: OAA, outs above average, arm value, DRS, defensive runs saved, and UZR, ultimate zone rating. These are the 4 main defensive metrics used today. Defensive runs saved and ultimate zone rating are 2 of the more complicated stats that exist out there. They essentially try to get all of a player's defensive value into one number. Now, I'm not going to break down all of these calculations since it would really just be a waste of time and pretty boring, but I'm bringing these 2 up for a reason. One of the main differences between F WAR, Fangraphs WAR, and B WAR, Baseball Reference WAR, is the way they calculate defensive value. F WAR uses UZR, while B WAR uses DRS. This results in some pretty significant differences between the 2. As you can see, Duran has a higher DRS, which goes into the B WAR, and he has a lower UZR, which goes into the F WAR. This is one of the reasons why his B WAR is much higher than his F WAR. According to DRS, Duran is an elite defender, but according to UZR, he's just a little bit above average. So, which one should we trust? Well, let's first take a look at the StatCast stats, outs above average and arm value. These 2 stats use StatCast data to determine the probability of a play to be made in the outfield. Outs above average is relatively simple. It will take the position that the outfielder starts, and the position that the ball is caught or hits the ground, and the time that the ball was in the air. Using these 3 values, you can calculate the expected catch rate for an average outfielder. Over the course of a season, you can use this data to determine how much better a player is in the outfield compared to the average outfielder, hence the name outs above average. Arm value is very similar. It takes the distance from the outfielder to the base that he's throwing to and the position and speed of the base runner to determine how likely that throw will lead to an out. Just like outs above average, over the course of a full season, you will know how much value a player has provided with their arm compared to an average defender. Outs above average loves Duran. He has 6, which is the most out of these 5 and one of the higher marks in the league. It's actually in the 94th percentile. There is no doubt that Duran is able to get to balls that most outfielders can't, making these outs on the defensive side saves runs, and a run saved is just as valuable as a run scored, which is how Duran is just as valuable as a guy like Juan Soto this year. Defense isn't the only thing that contributes to his value though. The base running that Duran possesses also generates him a lot of value as a player. Base running, like defense, is another hard thing to quantify in the sport of baseball. There are a couple stats out there that attempt to do this very thing. BSR, which I have listed here, is one of them. Base running is a lot more than just stolen bases. Most of the time, that is the extent to which we talk about base running, at least statistically. BSR is base running runs above average, or how many runs a player has generated on the bases compared to an average player. Duran has 5.1, which is second in the league only to Elly De La Cruz. A player can get more base running runs by taking extra bases, like going from first to third on a single or second to home on a single. Also, you can turn singles into doubles or doubles into triples. It's a little more complicated than just that, but overall, it does a pretty good job at quantifying base running value. As you can see, Duran is one of the best base runners in the league, and a run created on the bases is just as valuable as a run created at the plate. Another reason why his overall value is close to Soto's this year. Of course, defense and base running aren't really that exciting compared to a good hitter, and most fans don't really even look into stats like this. That is the main reason why Duran has been so underrated this year and has been voted to start in the All-Star game. There is only one player, though, who had a very similar profile and received much more love from the fans, and that player is Corbin Carroll in 2023. Taking a look at Corbin Carroll's 2023 compared to Duran this year, you can see just how similar the two players are. They provide about the same value hitting-wise, with very similar WRC pluses. They are both two of the best base runners in the league, and they both have above average range in the outfield. When Corbin Carroll did this last year, there was a lot more attention surrounding him. Maybe it was because he was a hyped up rookie and Duran is a guy in his 4th year that got off to a slow start in his career, but their numbers that they put up are very similar. Carroll was voted in as an All-Star in 2023 and finished 5th in the NL MVP voting. Duran was not even in the top 9 in All-Star voting, so obviously there is a difference in the presence that these two players have with the fans. Jarren Duran's 2024 season may not be easily appreciated by the casual fan, but he's been one of the most valuable players this year. While traditional hitting metrics might not paint him as an elite player, doing a little more digging can reveal a lot of hidden value. The omission of defensive and base running prowess from mainstream player evaluations underscore why Duran remains underrated by fans and in All-Star voting. His exceptional defensive metrics and base running skills rival those of top-tier players, showcasing a multifaceted contribution to his team's success that goes beyond the conventional box score. As the season unfolds, perhaps a deeper look into these overlooked aspects will shed light on Jarren Duran's impact and elevate his recognition in the league. But for now, he may remain as the league's most underrated player. Thank you for watching. If you really enjoyed the video, go ahead and like it and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.